Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Superpower Radio Show. You're here with your host, Brenda Major,
Mia Dawson.
and we are excited to provide this safe and supportive community for people impacted by autism. So, just as our normal disclaimer is, we are not trained clinicians nor diagnosticians. We have no degrees in autism nor the spectrum. The information you'll hear on this show is designed to offer strategies, comfort, support, faith, and humor for caregivers to help them manage the symptoms influenced by this disorder. So, we consider autism to be a superpower because
Yes.
of what it brings out in people. I mean, the people
Yes.
who have autism certainly didn't ask for it. They
No.
certainly can't control it. They
Yep.
try as best they can to communicate with people. And so they
Yes.
also, we found, have special gifts and talents that we
Yes.
need to recognize. So we need to look beyond just the symptoms and really see the person. And when we do that, when we provide that care, it brings out our superpower.
Yes.
So
Most
this is
definitely.
our Thanksgiving show, and this is actually one of Mia's ideas. She wanted us to look at autism as a gift. So you want to share a little bit more about that?
Yes, as we get ready to prepare for the holidays, and this is usually very a highly stressful time. And so dealing with people, kids, whoever on autism, because it's so much going on and it's for literally all the way into January 1st. Um I wanted to look at the positive, of course, as I always think that way, and look at it as a gift for everything. So I wanted to discuss small victories we can tell everyone
Yeah,
during these holiday seasons, and happy things that we can tell, and not the stressor. I mean, we're going to discuss the stressors, but look at
sure.
it from a positive perspective.
So Mia, how can a family who is giving care to somebody with autism, because it can be a challenge,
Yes.
um, when they're feeling overwhelmed, they're feeling stressed out, they're feeling hopeless, why me, why us? Um, Man, how can they find something to be thankful for?
I always say, and I've always did this, even I look at the small things. I
Mm-hmm.
don't care if it was like he went to the bathroom on his own. He ate something. I had to look at the small things and then build from there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was a mom that wanted the big things first. I you know me, I mean, you know me very well. I like big. And so if it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
big, I was like, this is worthless. And that's not true. I had to learn the small victories of he took a shower by himself. Those
Mm-hmm.
things. And so I would tell anybody, look at those very I don't care how minute it is. They said hello. They said one word for the day. That, and you can build. You get happy from that. I'm definitely small victories.
I hear you. And I think sometimes we overlook the changes in ourselves going
Yes.
through these
Yes.
challenges too. So
Yes.
maybe this might be a time for some of our listeners to think about how they've grown and
Yes.
what's
Yes.
different now than before you were dealing with the challenge of autism. In what ways have you grown? And you may now care more about people and care more about the world, and even your worldview might have changed. What were some of the changes that you went through, like that you can remember before autism came into your life and now after?
The biggest change is that I am more free and not so stuck on a plan. I
Hmm.
was very much on, it's going to be this way, it's rigid, it's got to be.
Hmm.
And autism don't work like that. You're not allowed. You may get up and think it's going to work like that. It's not going to work like that. And the moment I had, even before the autism, so the moment I had Neo,
Hmm.
that little plan and my little how my day's going to go every day, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to exercise, and that went out the window. And
Hmm.
so and I had to be okay with that, because and I didn't realize how much stress and anxiety I was putting on myself, that everything has to go this way, and we have to get up at this time, and we have to um and autism just doesn't work like that, because he may
Hmm.
have a good day today and the next day he may not. And so now that threw my whole psyche off, everything off. He didn't do what he's supposed to do at 5. And so although they are
Yeah.
more routine, they're routine in a different way.
Mm.
Autistic people are routine in a different way. And it's not as I think I was putting more stress on it. And
So I
so
think, I think maybe most mothers are looking at milestones because they read those books on what to expect when you're
yes,
expecting, and
yes,
you're
yes,
you're charting your kid's path, and you're comparing
yes,
your kid's growth and development to some
yes,
other person and their
yes,
kid. And
ma'am.
how could that really affect somebody? My kid didn't do this at the same age as that kid, and oh, what's wrong with me? Why do we tend to turn it in on ourselves? That's something.
And that's what it is. It's always about us. I didn't do something right. And then I had to stop, Brenda. I had to stop reading the books. So the books were messing me up
Hmm.
because you're right. I had the 9 months. And after the 9 months, I had all these books.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, and even Stefan was like, you are going to drive yourself nuts. Why are you reading all this stuff? You don't know how. And I'm like, but this is what it said. And
Hmm.
so for Neo, he made all the milestones except talking.
Mm.
So according to everything, he used the bathroom on it. I didn't have any of those issues. He used the bathroom on his own. He was eating. It was just when he had the talking, and then it went, as you're going to hear
Yeah.
from a previous show that we did, and then
Mhm.
it left.
Mhm.
So it was just the talking. But again, I went back to those books. He's supposed to talk like this. He's supposed to have these many words, and he's supposed to
Mhm.
have. And you're right; those milestones start to take over your life and start to
Mm.
take over you. And if the kid doesn't achieve it, you have done. It was me. I didn't eat something. I didn't give him. I didn't read to him enough. I mean, it went through that whole. And then now you're forcing yourself, so it's not happy. So then I started reading, and I can feel myself forcing the book. I wasn't
Mm.
enjoying it. And even though Neo couldn't verbalize it, he was looking at me like, lady, stop reading to me. Like this is no longer fun. Like this is no
Yeah.
longer I mean, and then he was one that didn't want to be read to because
Wow.
he could start reading really early and he was like, I don't really want you to read. So it was all you're absolutely right about all
Yeah.
this. But we put it on ourselves and it's us. I
Yeah.
thought that from the moment.
Yeah.
From the
One
moment
of
it happened.
our super tips that we thought of for this episode is that not let pride or embarrassment keep you from
Yes.
accepting help.
Yes.
Ask for help, and when
Yes.
you need it, and accept help from other people, because
Yes.
again, it's not just because it's Thanksgiving, but it's
Yes.
because it can be overwhelming. And
It can be
don't
overwhelming.
if we don't accept help, we're neglecting somebody else's superpower. Their
Correct.
superpower might be caregiving, and they may be the person that you need in your life to come alongside you, but you're embarrassed, or
I
just.
think embarrassment is huge. You are so
Mhm.
embarrassed. You are so embarrassed that this kid is out in the store screaming and yelling.
Mhm.
I was just at the store shopping and this little boy was and you could just the mom was horrified. Like
Yeah.
he was screaming and he threw stuff and everybody turned around and looked at him and I said, "Honey, do you?" And I cuz so I knew and I don't think
Yeah.
I don't even think nothing was wrong with him. I think he was just being
Yeah, he
a
might have just
kid.
been tired and having a
He
fit.
just having a fit.
Yeah.
And I said, honey, and then she was like, oh my, I said, it's okay. I said, just come over here. So I tried to communicate
Mhm.
and like redirect it another way.
Yeah.
But the embarrassment, she was red, she was horrified because everybody's looking now. And so the embarrassment and the shame of like,
Yeah.
I can't mother my child. That's what it feels
Wow.
like. That's
Wow.
what it feels like.
I mean, we know, and we've met people who have autistic children, and some
Yes,
of them
yes,
feel isolated. How how do you reach out for help? I mean, you have a great support system. You have an
yes, I
incredible
do.
family and friends.
Yes, I do.
What
I do.
advice would you give their little family, and they don't know anybody? How can they develop a support system?
Definitely I had to, well, I didn't have, because like you're right, I had a support system, but I had to get around people who were going through the same things. So a lot of
Mm.
times from doctors or the therapies that we went
Mhm.
to, that built a family amongst them because there was
Mhm.
parents going through the same thing.
Okay.
Um, so a lot of the doctors therapies I went through, I'm trying to think now. Yeah, I built it through the doctors and the therapies that I was going through,
Okay. And
besides my family.
that's a good idea, because I think sometimes we forget that, you're not the only one going through it.
You're not the only one. You are not the only one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you realize, Brenda, oh, he's not as bad as what you start looking at other people's
Like,
life. And
okay, man,
yeah, I was
if
like,
she can do
oh,
this, I can do
right,
this.
right. I was like, oh, I need to stop complaining because
And
I'm like, oh my gosh, what is she dealing with? And then I'm at home
right.
like, oh, it knocked me way down. And there was a humbling
Yeah.
experience of you complaining about what? You see what she going through? Or
Yeah.
I had my mother that had two kids, and
Wow.
they were like a couple years apart. And
Hmm.
they were severe enough where it was 2 years. I mean, I was like, okay, Mia, stop. You have one. She
Mm-hmm.
has two that she's dealing with within the 2 years. I mean, they were 2 or 3 years apart from each other.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it also brings that about.
Yeah.
That you're
And I think you touched on something too, um, that I could certainly relate to, even if you don't have an autistic child or a
hmm
child with special needs,
hmm
becoming more sensitive to people who do
yes,
makes you want to reach out. And when you mentioned
yes,
being in the grocery store, I was in the store a couple of weeks ago, and
hmm
there was a dad um, shopping, and
hmm
the kid was kind of under the underside of the cart. So,
oh,
and he was a big kid.
oh,
He looked to be maybe 10 or 11 years old.
oh
Um,
wow,
and he was, stemming, he was going through,
okay,
certain gestures. So he was waving his hands, and then he
okay,
started to do this high pitched wail, which, we
uh,
recognize.
yes, yep,
And the
yep,
dad was looking around, and I just went over and I tapped the dad on the shoulder and I said, "It's okay. It's okay. You
uh,
you don't have to explain anything to
correct,
people."
correct,
And he
correct.
just grabbed my hand and he said, "Thank you." And so
Oh,
sometimes even that can make a
yes,
difference. Even that
yes.
can make a difference. Now, I mean, did that stop the kid from doing what he was doing? No.
No,
But the
no,
dad
mm-mm.
was, he was going through the self checkout and he was trying to hurry up. I was like, it's
Because he
okay.
knew the kid was having a melt. Yeah, yeah,
And,
yeah.
one thing that we also forget is that autism affects so many people, but many people are in denial about it. I mean, 1 in 44 kids
Yes, yes,
is
yes,
somewhere
yes.
on the spectrum now. So when you think about it, we can't be so, sanctimonious or high and mighty thinking, well, thank God it's not me. It's
Yes.
everybody.
Yes, yes,
Everybody can play a part. Everybody
yes,
has a
yes.
role.
You're absolutely right. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
And so now we know, with Thanksgiving coming,
Oh yeah.
people coming over to the house, you have all of these different sights and
Oh
sounds
my gosh.
and aromas and food, and whew, how do you keep it together? What do you guys do for Thanksgiving, and how does that
So
influence?
Thanksgiving has always, at first it was at my mom's in Decatur,
Mm-hmm.
and then Sparkle, which is my sister, she took over and did it in Champagne. Um, and so everybody would bring something. Of course, they had me bring like the appetizers. I'm not the cook in the family. My sister and
Okay.
my mom are. So they wrote out, this is what you bring because it's the only thing you can make.
Oh man.
So I was on the appetizer list. Hey,
Okay.
hey, listeners, I do very good cheese ball,
Yes, you
very
do.
good. So they had me on the appetizer list. So, but we would bring now Neo. This was what was weird for me because I wanted him to enjoy the Thanksgiving food. He didn't want to have anything to do with it.
Hmm.
So I would still have to prepare what he would eat through Sunday to Sunday.
Okay.
Um, so he really he all the people we don't have as many people over. Some of my sister's in-laws come.
Mm-hmm.
Neil say hi, he'll interact, then he's like, "Boop," he'll go to the guest bedroom.
Fine. Okay. Okay.
So he didn't really he said, oh, it smells so good. But then we asked him to taste it. Nope, that's all right. I'll have my chicken. He
Okay.
won't do it. So Thanksgiving is not as bad for him. He's kind of in and out.
Mhm.
Come in and say
So,
hi, and then he'll go back to his little
yeah.
spot.
Well, and I like that advice of preparing the foods that you know they eat because
Yes, I have
sometimes
to
relatives,
prepare.
yeah.
I have to prepare before, like for this Thanksgiving.
Hmm.
I will always have it prepared because my youngest Isaiah has some allergic reaction to stuff, so I have to prepare that before and already
Okay.
know. Um, I did want now one year my sister-in-law, who's also a very good, she's a chef cook. She
Hmm.
he does eat from her. He tends to taste from her.
Okay.
And that kind of offended me for a little bit. But then I was like, I don't care. I just want you to taste stuff. Because I was like, why you don't taste from your mom? And then I was like, they were like, Mia, you don't even cook.
Oh, wow.
Why are you even saying that? I was like, oh yeah, y'all right. So he does. She can get him to taste. So she made one year. She actually prepared our food for us and for at our Thanksgiving, and he did
Hmm.
try. I actually have a
Okay.
picture of him
Okay.
trying each one of the foods. He didn't eat all of it, but he tried it. So that
Okay.
was a victory for us.
For sure.
Um, that he tried something different. I think it was like ham. He tried the mac and cheese, and it may have been the baked beans. But that, I mean, he tried 3 or 4 different. But she got him to do it.
Okay.
So,
Like you said, those small
those
victories.
small victories. Now we went
Yeah.
right back to our other food. But I was happy
That's
about that.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we do have some suggestions because we know that relatives will bring things and they want you to hear, try this
Yes.
pecan pie, do
Oh,
this, do
preach,
that.
preach, preach. Yes,
Um,
they
so
will.
so
Yes, they
we,
will.
we just want you to be able to tell your family members, you know what, just like adults, everybody's not going to like everything. So don't
Right,
be offended. Our super kid likes things that he's or she is familiar with, things that feel
correct,
right on their tongue. So
correct,
don't be offended because I think
correct.
sometimes people just don't understand. But we
Yes.
do have some suggestions on how you can have a peaceful, thankful Thanksgiving and maintain your sanity. And one of those things is to keep a gratitude journal. So if
Mhm.
things start
Mhm.
getting hard, just write in the journal and encourage your family members to write in the journal. And
Yes.
sometimes that might be hard to get it started because you may not feel like you're in the right place to start journaling at the time.
Yep.
So it might even be a good idea to just pass it on to a friend or a family member to have them start writing in the journal for
Yep.
you.
Yep. Totally
So
agree. Totally agree.
yeah. So another thing we talked about is to, make quiet time, even on the
Oh
holiday,
yes.
like you
Oh
said,
yes.
that Neo already knows now there's a place he can go. Whether
Yes.
he's at
Yes.
home or he's at TT's house, he can
Yes.
go to a quiet place. So always
Yes.
have that quiet place where your kid can go and retreat when they get overstimulated.
Oh yes. Oh
Yeah.
yes.
So another thing we talked about is if you have a higher functioning kid and you are hosting Thanksgiving, involve them in the preparation. So give them something they can do in advance, like maybe you
Mhm.
fold the napkins. Um,
Yes.
they're very good at things that are orderly.
And task oriented.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Yes. Yes. Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah. So that way they feel more like they're involved without having to be overly involved.
Correct. Correct. Yes.
And so we also thought about any time of year having the family come together and do a prayer and have each kid part of the prayer. And I know that you do that in your household.
And Neo actually leads the prayer. We all
Wow.
get in a circle. He has all he's prayed since that's one of his first the first verse he said was I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Philippians
Wow.
was it 4:13. So um that's the first verse he ever said out of his mouth. And so he prays when it's time for prayer. I don't care where you're at. I got this. And he prays. So yes, that is very much, and we let him do it. I mean, usually it would go my dad or my mom or what, but we actually let Neo take over that every time.
Okay. So you kind of started a new tradition
We started a new tradition. We sure did. We sure did.
featuring him. That is awesome. So again, if you're hosting the big day, you might want to make sure that you run through a list with your super kid of
Yes.
everybody who's coming
Yes.
and what they
Yes.
can expect.
You are so right.
Yeah.
Because if somebody new come, who is that? I didn't know
Mhm.
that. Who? Why are they? Yes, they're going to ask those. That has happened before. That has absolutely happened before.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
And then if you may have a lower functioning super kid and you know your kid better than anybody else. So if,
Mm-hmm.
if
Mm-hmm.
you know that your kid needs that quiet time and you want to introduce some Thanksgiving things to them, maybe read them a story about the first Thanksgiving or tell them about what you're thankful for. And I think
Yes.
with lower functioning super kids, they still recognize you. They feel that
Yes.
love that you have for them, and so to just continue to reinforce that in a quiet place, um, they do understand,
They do.
and
They do.
and they will appreciate it. So
It's very true.
I keep reflecting back to you because you sometimes will say, okay, he wasn't doing it the way I expected.
Yes. Yes.
And
That's exactly true.
how did you know when he wasn't as verbal that he was really understanding?
It was his gestures.
Hmm.
He would hug. He would smile. He would kind of lay on me.
Hmm.
Um, so I knew it in his eyes. We connected definitely spiritually and um nonverbal very much. So I could tell. And even now, if he don't say anything, I'd be like, "Ooh, he don't feel good."
Mm.
And just I could just tell that something's off, or he's worried about something.
Mhm.
Um, we have a calendar in our kitchen, and he and went down and he's came back 2 or 3 times. What day is this? And how many times are we?
Okay.
And so I said, is something bothering you? Nope. I just want to make sure what we're doing. I just want to make sure. And so, but I can look at his face and tell that he was having questions. And now it took him
Mhm.
a couple days, but he came and told, but I could feel
Okay.
that he had questions.
So
So yeah.
yeah. And sometimes maybe even that mother's intuition maybe kicks
Yes.
in a higher gear.
Yes. 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 Yeah, they're going to show you if you have. I've been around um lower functioning kids,
Mhm.
um just with the advocacy and everything that I do, and you can
Mhm.
tell. You can tell if they're not feeling somebody. Like they don't want to, they may,
Mhm.
you can just tell. And so you have to
Sure.
look for those clues and be
Yeah.
aware of that.
You almost have to constantly be a detective.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So, like you said, Thanksgiving is coming up. Um, do you have any memorable Thanksgivings with you and your family, and then maybe some with Neo?
Um we had, when we were family growing up, we usually would go from house to house. Like we would have food at our house, then we go.
So
I
you
was
guys
like,
would get stuffed.
we would. I was like, are we supposed to be eating like this? And then you're like, and you just ate and ate for the whole weekend, but you wouldn't visit every family member. I was like, oh my gosh, this is kind of. So I didn't. Thanksgiving wasn't that I was like, why are we going to everybody's house and eating like
Mhm.
every? And you got your grandparents, and like you said, try this. I don't want
Yeah.
to try this. We ate all day. Um, so one tradition that we switched, we did last year, we went to Wisconsin Dells.
Oh,
And
so
Stefan
family
actually,
vacation then.
the Stefan suggested that. He was like, look, we just keep sitting around talking about the same memories over and
Eating the
over
same
again.
stuff
He,
and doing the
he
same thing.
said, can we switch this up? It was awesome. And then some of my family came from Chicago, came down, they came and
Nice.
joined us. Um, Neo loved that because they have an indoor water park. So he just stayed in the indoor. He loved it. He did
Okay.
really well. We had a huge suite, so they have their own room.
Mhm.
When he was ready to get away from everybody, he went to his room. But
Okay.
he loved. They had an arcade in there. Kalahari is what it's called. So that was probably our most memorable with Neo because I seen him. He seemed happy.
Okay.
Was able to enjoy it and not just kind of isolate away from everybody.
Yeah. So I think sometimes in families have to advocate for themselves and break with tradition. And,
Yes.
you don't have
Yes.
to explain every time to grandma and
Yes.
grandpa why we're not coming over. We're doing
Right.
something different with our family.
Right. 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 Well,
Yeah.
I don't understand. We don't see. Okay, we come to you when we get back. But
I get it. So I know Thanksgiving may not be a big deal for some people, but I think
yes.
our
Yes.
point is it's a time to really reflect and give thanks.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
and
Yes.
if
Yes.
you
Yes.
do have a super kid in your family, um, make sure that you are mindful of giving and serving to that family member. And that
Yes.
brings
Yes.
out
Yes. Yes.
your own superpower and
Yes.
reminds us that really, yeah, for some people it's about the pilgrims and the Indians, but
Correct.
but for most people it's about gathering and
But mhm.
reflecting and giving thanks. Can you share, as we're ending this episode, something that you're thankful for this year?
Oh, what am I thankful for this year? I am very thankful that we were able to purchase a horse for Neo this year. I am very
Yeah,
thankful because we're going to talk about that on later shows that
yeah.
his therapy and we were able to get our own horse and that was a now I didn't plan on buying no horse but I am thankful that we were able to afford to buy a horse
Nice.
this year for him and that because I've seen him completely that is he thought we was going to take that horse home and we live in the city and I said baby we live in the city we don't live in the country we can't take the horse
Mhm.
home and how was the horse going to get home he had a roll now he had a fit about that because he wants Cannon is his name he wants Cannon here
Oh boy.
um
In your backyard.
he's actually gone right now riding Cannon
Okay.
um so but that was very I mean, I have
That's
pictures.
awesome.
I have pictures of him. I haven't seen him that happy, and
Wow.
he was
That's
excited that
awesome.
he had his own, yeah, pet
Okay.
horse. So
We've
that's what
got
I'm real thankful.
that's great. And I can't wait
What
to see
about you? What about you,
horse
real
in
quick? I know
person.
we got to close. What
Well,
about
you
you?
know what? I am just thankful for this opportunity that we get to share. This is
Oh my
an
gosh, yes,
awesome platform for us. And
yes,
so we are really thankful to all of our supportive listeners.
yes, yes,
Um,
yes.
and we encourage you guys to send us suggestions and questions that we can address on upcoming shows. And
Hmm.
probably the best way to do that is to go to our website, which
Yep,
is www.adventuresofneo.com. And there is a little icon up top where you can send us an email. So feel free to send us anything that you have questions about or suggestions about, and we
yeah,
will definitely talk about it on the show. You're also going to find a lot of really cool resources there and encourage people. That's a great place to catch episodes of this show
yes,
on our
yes,
website. So
yes, yes, yes.
um, we are thankful to you. And so we are going to see you or let you hear us again next time. And you've been listening to the Superpower Radio Show with
Mia Dawson.
and Brenda Major. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Okay.